you're taking mushrooms. You're having a beautiful day. You're out in nature. Maybe you're at a music festival. Maybe you're just hanging out with some friends. You feel like, it's early. This is wonderful. I don't want this to end when it's going to. I want to take more. This is okay with proper responsibility. When taking more while you're already tripping, it is so important to remember that you do not want to take too much more. If you're in a really good space and you're feeling hyped, it can be tempting to just eat a fuck ton. Don't don't do that. Be metered with your dosing. If you do decide to take more, be responsible. I would say never take more than your original dose. That will ensure that you don't get clusterfucked toward the end. Because when you take mushrooms while you're already on them, they don't just restart. I mean, they do, but they do something more. They compound. So you may be peaking. Maybe you're even past the peak of your original dose, and you take more. As you're coming up on that second dose, the first dose will feel like it's kicking right back in. It'll bring it with it and compound into something bigger. So that's why you need to be very careful. Say you've started out with a half-eighth. Now, after 3 or 4 hours, you do decide to take more. I would never go more than another half-eighth. I would never take more than what I started with. And if you started with something large, first and foremost, there's probably no reason to take more, but you also don't want to match that dose if you are just dead set on it. I would still recommend against that, but, people are going to do what they're going to do. Oh, and a side note, if you want to take more, but you have already come all the way down off of your previous dose, you're not going to feel it. Your tolerance will be completely spiked, and you got to wait, a couple days. Again, taking it with that much frequency is probably not a good idea, but that's just what the tolerance dictates. But back to the point. If you're going to take more, be metered. Make sure that you have enough time to take more, Make sure that you have all the space in the world and that, in 4 hours you're not going to have to be somewhere. Because guess what? You'll still be fucking tripping. And I mean, if you're on this channel, you probably know that, but I have to reiterate it because not everybody does. So, probably 2 main things is if you want to take more, you can, but make sure you have enough time and space to do it, and make sure you don't overdo it. Let's come up with a quick rubric for this. If you've taken an eighth to start, or anything above that, probably don't take more. No need. Just let it ride out. Because again, it will compound. You will trip harder and harder and harder until the trip finally finishes. But it will be a rude awakening to get way more than you expected. So anything an eighth or above, maybe just let it ride. If you're gonna, start with 2 grams or less, when you re-up, keep it 2 grams or less. And again, You need to know how long it has been before you re-up. Because if you take some and then 45 minutes later you decide to take more, that's going to be way too soon. That's going to basically hit you as if you took all of that at once. I would say give it at least 3 hours before you decide to take more. If you're a professional, if you're a master, of course you're going to have your own way of doing things. But for those of you who are learning and who want to know, I would highly recommend following these guidelines. This is advanced shit. This is not day one tripping anymore. And that's not what I want to give you on Patreon. I want to give you trip 100 tripping. I want to give you the good shit. If you're between 2 and 3 grams, still don't re-up over 2 grams. It will compound. You'll trip balls harder and harder and harder. It's just not that productive. Always exercise caution, and don't forget to look at a clock, and don't forget to look at a scale. Fuck, I keep hitting my fucking face on this shit.